and just get a look at it with our 3D scan, and we may have to move things around just a little bit. And actually, we may just go ahead and take a look at this cell because of the tornado warning with a couple of other elements that we have here. And let me just move things around, Jeff, being that we are now under a tornado warning. And I want to get the latest on their location of this possible rotation.
Yes, the National Weather Service is now saying that a hook echo has developed rapidly in northeast Davidson County, and that is why they issued the tornado warning. So it's a Doppler radar indicated tornado right now with this particular cell that Lisa has up on the screen, just north and northwest of Mount Juliet and north of Hermitage. Again, a little bit of a hook echo there. We're looking at the velocity there. And
it's real close to the radar,
right.
So this makes it a little bit difficult to see, but you can see just a little bit of a couplet here near the Hendersonville area, near Old Hickory Lake. So we could be looking at a couplet right there that could be a spin-up tornado with this very gusty storm cell that has popped up and moved across Davidson County.
And these are moving so quickly. They're moving at 50 miles per hour, so they're not going to stay in one area very long. So this is going to be moving out of Hendersonville very quickly and moving on off to the east into the rest of Wilson County as we head through the next probably 15 to 20 minutes.
Right. We haven't had many warnings with these storms, but they've really pulsed as they came into Nashville from Ashland City, and now as they're moving eastward, they're into a pretty volatile atmosphere. You can see all the bright pink shading there in the Hendersonville area down to Langford Pass, and then this is Highway 70 that you see here in Mount Juliet. Any of these folks
The National Weather Service in Nashville has issued a tornado warning for east central Davidson County in Middle Tennessee, southern Sumner County in Middle Tennessee, southwestern Trousdale County in Middle Tennessee, northern Wilson County in Middle Tennessee until 5:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time. At 4:57 p.m. Central Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Old Hickory and moving east at 50 miles per hour. Hazard: tornado and quarter-size hail. Source: radar indicated rotation. Impact: flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. This dangerous storm will be near Mount Juliet around 5:05 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Belinda City around 5:10 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Lebanon around 5:20 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Other locations in the warning include Dickerson Chapel Recreation Area and Tucker's Crossroads. Take cover now. Move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid windows. If in a mobile home, a vehicle, or outdoors, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris.
Up into quite a squall line here with these individual cells within the line itself. One of those is the one moving just past Mount Juliet right now. That's the one that has the hook echo that was developing on the Doppler radar. Again, a tornado hasn't been sighted at this point.
It'd be hard to see with all this rain.
Oh yeah, it would be rain, what we call rain wrapped, which would mean it would be extremely dangerous, and it's moving extremely quickly. So if you are in this area, again, we're talking about Martha being at about 5:07, Egan at about 5:12, and Lebanon at about 5:15, and Holloway at about 5:18. You're in the direct path of this particular tornado-warned storm as it's moving off toward the east at 50 miles an hour. There's not a lot of time to react here, so you probably want to head to a place of shelter pretty quickly right now.
Yeah, obviously it's been a while since we've had storms. You want to get away from windows. A basement if you have one. If you don't, in an interior room with no windows, a closet, sometimes a bathroom is your best option. That's what I have to do at my house. We are looking at a very strong line of So we may get a report from Davis Nolan. He lives over that way. He probably is in a safe spot right now, and I'm certainly hoping so. But you can see there that bright green shading is going to be some very strong lines. And this is moving very, very quickly off to the east at about 55 to 57 miles per hour. So this is the area under the tornado warning right now. If you are in Mount Juliet, if you are in Gallatin, you need to be taking cover. Lebanon, around the Highway 109 area, Legardo, some of these communities communities in between. You're not only under severe thunderstorm warning, and there are a couple of those in this area too for good 60, 65 mile per hour winds, but we are looking at a bit of a couplet showing up even in the reflectivity there, a little bit of a hook there, Jeff, that you can see that kind of slid down out of the Hendersonville area right here around Highway 70 and Mount Juliet, which would be the same spot that's been hit 2 or 3 times in the past 10 years or so. So we'll hope that that stays aloft if that is indeed rotation, but we are looking at it moving very quickly up Highway 70 toward the Martha community right there in North Mount Juliet. Hoping my family is in their safe location at this point in time as well, because that's very close. The Hermitage area getting hit with some very heavy rains at this time as well. It looks like the heaviest part of that cell is north of you, but you're under the tornado warning too, and certainly under severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, if we can go back down a little bit, you can see the main area of storms also right now pulling on the south side of Nashville, and there is more off to the west out toward the Bellevue vicinity. Belmead, looks like you're getting some pretty heavy rain, and there's tremendous lightning with these storms right now moving on the south side of the Nashville area. Blinding rain coming down. I mean, we have a shot from one of our cameras right now looking out on the west end, and it is hard to see maybe more than I would say maybe a quarter of a mile in the rain that's coming down there, and occasional lightning flashes. So it's very dangerous outside right on the south side of Nashville as well as up there into Wilson County right now.
Look at that bright purple shading coming right up Highway 70 and I-40 between Bellevue and West Nashville, and that's going to slide across South Nashville. You already have around Berry Hill and South Nashville, downtown Nashville. Here at the News 2 studios, some of the bright purple shading for hail possibilities. It's really inflated over here to the west side of downtown. That's where I see some of the brightest shadings there, and if we look at our hail zone, which would kind of predict where it's headed, basically that same area we saw the pink shading, that's where we could be looking at hail that could do some damage. And we also see that with the cell that has produced the tornado warning up there from Highway 70 north up to Hendersonville and right along the Cumberland River, Old Hickory Lake, crossing over 109. So we want to look at the storm relative velocity, which gives us an idea of what we're seeing as far as wind, rotation, and that sort of thing. And you know, the hard part right now is that the storm is right over the radar. This is the radar dome here in northwestern Wilson County, and so when it's right on top of it, you can see the bright shadings. You can see those bright shadings, but that indicates some very, very strong winds. We do have a funnel cloud that has been spotted in Hermitage. I'm not sure if that's an actual storm spotter, and that is unconfirmed, but we are looking at some information coming from some folks who are tapped into the National Weather Service and seeing what they are seeing as well as we look at these storms. Now, again, you can see that we are looking at a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings here for Davidson County, and we will continue to monitor this situation. There's also the storm warning that's back to the southwest, including Perry County, Hickman County, into Hohenwald. We are getting some new information. Davis is over, like I said, on Old Hickory Lake. He's reporting about a 68 mile per hour gust. I don't know if he's seeing any hail yet. He's probably listening. Hopefully he's in the basement and not watching the storm go by. But Davis, if you see any hail, we'd like to know about that report as well. After the storm passes, of course, we ask you to go out and take photos if you had any hail or tree damage, but well after the storm. We don't want you putting yourself in harm's way.
Yeah, he said that gust was at 5:03, so that was about 6-7 minutes ago. A dime-sized hail also being reported at the corner of Brook Hollow and Davidson in West Mead. So up to dime-sized hail has been reported. We've seen up to 3/4 size inch diameter hail being reported with these storms so far. That's about as big as we've seen, but you get anything up to approaching golf ball size, and that's going to put some dents in your car. You don't want to be out in that at all. And of course, the gusty winds, and as you can see here, lots of lightning as well with these particular storms. We've had a couple of very close strokes right here at the studio.
We have. And you know, I want to put another track on this because a lot of folks may just be running into the house after getting off work and driving home through this rain and thinking, what's going on? We do have a tornado warning indicated here by the purple polygon. This is from far northeastern Davidson County, although it was issued for the cell that is now just east of Hendersonville and in the Mount Juliet to 109 area. Should be in Martha at 5:10, Suggs Creek around 5:14, Egan about 5:16, Lebanon about 5:20, Holloway around 5:23, and the Bellwood community about that time as well. So we're continuing to monitor that. You'll also notice that we have the orange boxes or polygons around the purple one. So there are severe thunderstorm warnings along with the tornado warning. Now, the tornado warning goes till 6:30, I'm sorry, 5:30. 5:30. I want to zoom in a little bit on this cell that is also in southern Nashville, the downtown Nashville area, and coming back through West End and about to cross over 440.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the Weather Service is just reporting that that cell has increased dramatically in intensity, and they're estimating winds now with it 60 miles an hour with quarter-size hail possible.
Yeah. You're going to be looking at possible dings in automobiles with that sized hail, and you're going to be looking at tree limbs. You know, Jeff, we had the icing over the winter, and that weakened a lot of tree limbs, so it's not going to be surprising when we have these spring storms come through that trees that might have withstood this kind of wind before might lose some limbs and that sort of thing. Now, I don't think we have to worry about flooding because it's moving pretty quickly, but there will be ponding of water on roadways. So we are looking at that bright purple shading that you can see there on Storm Tracker. That's where we're probably seeing some hail coming right up 40 and 70 into downtown Nashville. And I'm going to change the color of my telestrator.
If I can ask the control room, can we punch up the camera there looking out toward the West End right now, because it is raining extremely hard over there.
Yeah.
That as out of this storm as well. So we just lost the picture there. It's kind of coming in and out, but this situation, we're taking all these strikes, and of course the rain is pouring down as well, but particularly there on the west and south side of Nashville, and now over toward just south of Donaldson.
Right.
And it looks like the Hermitage area is pretty much out of the woods with these particular cells, but just east of Mount Juliet, that's still the tornado warned cell.
Yeah, right up around Legardo, up 109. Hendersonville, you're out of the threat area, I think, even though the tornado warning continues for you. The National Weather Service would cancel that part of it, but they've got their hands full watching the other storm cells coming through. So there's Legardo, as I was just mentioning, and the Martha community. We've been tracking into that area. This is the part of that cell that showed a hook echo with it a little bit earlier and showed a little twist on the Doppler radar. And we did have at least one, I'm not sure if it was a train spotter or not, say they saw possible funnel cloud over in the Hermitage area. That was earlier. That has since passed that area. But you do see, Jeff, all these bright shades of green here. Those are going to be some really strong winds. So whether they're rotating or not, they could be doing some damage. But there is, you know, just a little bit, and this is a little trickier when it's right over the radar dome or this close. So a little bit of conflict there. Still just around 70 from Mount Juliet north, but it looks less prominent than it did a little bit earlier. But if I were in that 109 area, I would certainly be taking cover. This is a tornado warning for you, and it goes until 5:30. I think, again, the warning for Hermitage, Hendersonville, Glitzville, Millersville, the threat in Madison is over, but we do have south of Hermitage, around the Donaldson area, a severe thunderstorm warning for this area, and you can see two spots of that are really intense at this time, just around the airport here on I-40, and a lot of folks on the roads right now. So this heavy rain and possible hail is certainly going to add insult to injury to the afternoon commute on a Friday.
In fact, looks like we're getting some reports of some small hail over the last 2 minutes there in West Nashville, where we showed you on our tower cam. Again, it is really, really coming down just on the west side of Nashville right now. Over toward Vanderbilt University. It is pouring, and of course, they're getting reports of hail there, as much as maybe dime-sized hail so far, but it could be even bigger than that. Again, Lisa's showing you where the radar is showing the reflectivity as far as some hail is concerned, and looks like most of it on the south side there of Nashville.
Yeah, downtown Nashville southward. I'm going to pull out the view because this is the potential hail zone that we're zoomed in on now, and you can see that it is pretty widespread across the Nashville area. I'm going to actually put this in sort of a 2D look so you can see that flat on, and it stretches from about Oak Hill, just south of 440, all the way over into the Donaldson area, just south Mount Juliet. You just had the storm with the tornado warning clipped by just to your north on the 70 side north. Now the south side may be looking at these hail cores moving in from the west. So it looks like you're going to get in on that action. I want to point out, Jeff, that I noticed the National Weather Service did update take that tornado warning. It took Hendersonville and Hermitage out of it, but you are under a severe thunderstorm warning. I think Hermitage, the south side down to Donaldson, is probably closer to I-40 is the bigger threat there. And Gallatin looks to be out of the woods there as well. Those folks get a little nervous with this kind of weather. They've experienced this before. It looks like the threat is over, but that warning is actually officially still in effect. If you live just south of Gallatin and just off to the east, going down 231 towards Hartsville, very strong storm activity for you there as well, but is right over 109 where we see the heaviest weather.
Looks like it's the folks in Lebanon are going to be hit here before too long, and also down toward the Gladeville area. It's moving through Martha right now and the Leeville area. That cell, if I'm not mistaken, almost appears like it may be weakening just a little bit, and the stronger cells may be the ones on the south side of Nashville right now.
Let's track this one real quickly. Actually, I'm a little too close in to do this track, so I want to pull out just a little bit. I want to track it into the Lebanon area. There is still a tornado warning for that, so we'll do that very quickly, and then we'll focus on these cells that are just south, because I agree with Jeff that that one looks like it is weakening somewhat. Here you can see the West End Heights area in Lebanon about 520, downtown Lebanon around the square at 522, Bellwood 527, Riddleton around 530, and Graveltown around 532. So that is that warning that is still a tornado warning over that way. We are looking, though, at some of the stronger cells now that have pulsed up, being right here in southern Nashville from downtown to the 440 loop. Look at that, down to Berry Hill, coming into Glencliff. You just had some very heavy weather in Glencliff, and that has now moved over to just right down 40, moving across the Central Pike and the Priest Lake areas.
You know, as much as the rain is coming down here now, does raise the possibility of at least some immediate flash flooding, because it is really raining hard with these storms, particularly south side of Nashville there and off to the east, just southeast of Donaldson. Those two cells contain most of the lightning and the heavy rain and the possibility of hail. So those are the biggest cells, as well as the one that has the tornado warning on it that may be weakening just a bit. But these two cells seem to have some of the worst weather we're looking at right now.
Yeah, you know, I think that especially when you've got so many cars on the roads, it's Friday afternoon, one of the worst rush hour commutes that we have during the week. And
it's even worse now.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of folks are just pulled over on the side of the road, so it's going to take folks long home. If you can wait it out, I would highly recommend that. If you can give it another 30-45 minutes, this will blow through very, very quickly. I know the last thing you want to do is work late on a Friday afternoon, but it probably would be better safe than to try to get out there in this weather. Notice as we pull out the view here a little bit, we do have the other warning. It looks like that cell has weakened quite a bit as well, and don't mean to ignore you down there in Hickman County, Lewis County by any means, but we did have this tornado warning up in Nashville. You still have your severe thunderstorm warning there. That cell has weakened, but it's still a little bit pulsed up there just from Hohenwald into southwestern Hickman County, moving off to the east.
And there's another cell there just west of the Franklin area. City.
Yeah.
That does not have a warning on it, but it does look like it's fairly powerful.
I think it'll get a warning.
Yeah, and that's going to be moving right into Williamson County there. Brentwood, you are on the south side of this big storm moving by on the south side of Nashville right now, but you may get hit by this cell coming in from the west. Franklin, Cool Springs, you're definitely in line for this as it's moving off to the east again at about 50 to 55 miles an hour. That's
Newsom by about 521, Thompson Station 523. Of course, that's just a couple of minutes. Franklin, we've got a live picture. You're going to see things pick up at about 526. That's a look at the dark sky there over Williamson County and the Franklin community. We don't have a warning for this cell, but it wouldn't surprise me. Notice some of those bright shadings of pink again there in the Fairview area. We are continuing to look at that as, you know, just an indicator that we could have not just the heavy rains that are just blinding to try to drive in, but also hailstones. And with the cold air spilling in behind us, that would not be surprising.
You mentioned earlier about the trees potentially being weakened after the winter we've had, Lisa. We're now getting some reports of trees down 2 miles southeast of Hendersonville. A train spotter reporting some thunderstorm wind damage there with the strong winds. So the tree limbs coming down. We've got some hail with these storms, and of course a lot of lightning. Look at all the lightning on the south side of Nashville right now. That is just impressive. And of course we've been hearing it here in our News 2 studio, as well as the heavy downpours that we're getting. So these storms have a little bit of everything, and they really have exploded here in intensity just over the last hour.
Yeah, they really have. It's been very active here in South Nashville. We've got a little more of this heavy rain and lightning to go through. You can see it kind of trying to cross over 65 there on the south side of Nashville, but it's going to be much longer lasting flashing there on 24 and 40 east. So they're around the Hickory Hollow area up to Donaldson and the airport, still coming down very, very heavily. Again, give it a little time. Still some steady rains west on 40 back to Bellevue. And Bellevue, you're going to be clipped by this cell that's in western Williamson County. You can see that one there is the one we just tracked for you just a moment ago. Still no warnings with it, but that is approaching the Franklin area here over the next probably 15-20 minutes or so.
Getting hail sizes up to a quarter. That's an inch in diameter now. So some very, very, very large hail starting to be reported. An inch in diameter hail is going to do some damage to your car, and we're getting numerous reports of hail all across the south side of Nashville right now. And as I mentioned just a little bit earlier, a train spotter reporting some serious flooding at 12 South and Linden.
Yeah, that's going to be, you know, sometimes you're going to get this very heavy deluge and the water just doesn't have anywhere to go that fast. It'll remedy itself pretty quickly, but you don't want to get caught in it, so don't drive across a roadway that is flooded.
Absolutely.
This warning that includes Nashville. Now, downtown, I think things are beginning to settle down from the north side of town. Just the south side is still a little bit active with the heavier rain. We can actually hear it beginning to let up a little bit in South Nashville. But the warning that is the white flashing around the orange, that goes until 5:45. They did have nickel-sized hail reported in Centennial Park with this cell when it came through. It has ended there now, but that came in just a little bit ago, and that's picking up in the Gladeville area and down in Antioch. You're just kind of being clipped with this on the north side. So if you say, hey, I live in Antioch, but you're kind of on the north side of Antioch, you're looking at getting some of this very heavy weather as this moves through. And you can also see how we can see over in Lebanon some of that bright shading of pink as well, coming right up for 70, Highway 70 to West End Heights from the Egan Community, Hickory Ridge Road, just north of 40, Leeville Pike. These are areas where the rain is very heavy, and you may get some small hail. It's already starting to pick up in Lebanon right now.
You can see on the left-hand side of your screen here the traffic. It is moving, but it's having a tough time. Of course, as Lisa mentioned earlier, Friday is always fairly bad for traffic in and around Nashville. I'm trying to see exactly where we are there.
Yeah, that's 40. You know, I wouldn't want to drive in it. I'd want to wait it out 15-20 minutes and let the heavy rains pass, because, you know, when folks pull over to the side of the interstate because they're not comfortable driving in that, that creates a danger too. So if you can wait it out, that's a good idea. I'm going to pull out a little wider view here and give you a perspective. The front is pretty much the line that you can see coming into the Nashville area right now. So, you know, if you're back to the northwest of Nashville, Ashland City, Springfield, Clarksville, Dover, Waverly, Dixon, Paris, you're done with the storm activity. Everything is quiet, and you're going to be just turning cooler. You've already felt the temperature drop. We are looking at the storm line being this right here, basically on the south side of 40, west of town, and areas east of Nashville. You still have to work through this, so we're continuing to monitor this. Look at the clusters of lightning from Lafayette coming into Carthage, been moving through Trousdale County, now in the Lebanon area, crossing right over 231 with lots of lightning and crashing thunder. You can hear that. That purple outline is still that active tornado warning. Jeff and I looked at that just a little bit ago, and it looked like it had weakened somewhat. But again, you know, you don't want to take any chances and try to go out and say, hey, I want to see if there's a tornado out there. We still have this tornado warning for the Lebanon area. Not seeing any real strong couplets with that when we look at our wind analysis, but we are looking at very strong winds with the storm line.
Yeah, let's go to the south side there. I want to see that storm coming back into Williamson County. That still doesn't have a warning on it, but it has a lot of lightning on it and some heavy downpours. So that's headed almost right into the Franklin vicinity, and Brentwood, you may be in line for that as well. But Franklin, Cool Springs, that whole vicinity, it looks like you're in line for this probably within minutes, I would say.
Franklin right now, it looks like it's coming in. They're starting to hear the thunder crashing, and we're going to track this one at about 54 miles per hour, maybe about 53. It looks a little bit slower than what's on the north end, kind of typical. Franklin, 525, which is now. Epworth around 530. The Brentwood area, you just had some of this heavy rain on the Davidson County side of Brentwood, basically, with the cell that's there in Antioch and moving over toward Gladeville and up through Priest Lake now. But you're going to get the north end of this one at about 533. So just in a few minutes, it's going to start picking up. Arno about 535. In Nolensville, I think some of this heavier rain, maybe some hail and some lightning. You're going to be on the front end of that at 5:38. It'll last probably 30 minutes or so once it gets there. And then Antioch, you're dealing with some of that storm activity right now. You'll be on the north side of this one as it moves off to the east. And they have not issued a warning for that yet, but it just won't surprise me as it crosses the trace now and gets on over toward Franklin if they go ahead and issue a warning for that one. So several cells out there are producing damage. We have some reports of some trees down in the Belle Meade area. You had talked about them a little earlier, Jeff, getting some of the heavy activity with this particular cell that is now around Couchville and Smith Springs back to the Una area and the Antioch Pike area down Hickory Hollow. That's where some of that heavy weather is right now. So still possibly some tree damage could occur with this all the way up to Suggs Creek and Gladeville. They're all under severe thunderstorm warnings. Lebanon, you are being hit especially hard with a cell that still has a tornado warning with it right now, as well as a severe thunderstorm warning in addition. So you could have at least winds gusting up to 60, 65 miles per hour. That's what we've been seeing. We do have some reporting of at least quick flash flooding with some of these storms as they move through. At the zoo, they reported some dime-sized hail. That's a little bit too small to probably cause any damage, but I'm sure it scares folks and scares the animals.
And it'll hurt if it hits you, definitely.
Absolutely. But here in Lebanon, you can see some of that bright pink shading right now. Just looking at some of the hail information, it's not the bright blues that we saw earlier with this particular cell. That is showing up a little bit more down towards the Suggs Creek and Gladeville area, coming with this cell that's in South Nashville and in the Antioch and Priest Lake area right now. So the brighter blue would be a little bit more likely, but up in Lebanon, you see that light shading of blue, so you could have some of that hail there as well. So here's a look at the broader view. All of this is going to make its way over toward Murfreesboro. Let's take a look at what's going on there in the city of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. Things are looking pretty dark and stormy, and it is just beginning to creep into that northwestern corner of Rutherford County. Up around Smyrna and Laverne, you're going to feel this first, what's coming out of southeastern Davidson County. And then I think Murfreesboro is going to deal with what's coming through Franklin and crossing I-65 right now. Again, let me just change a couple of settings here. Ignore that track. I'm going to just stretch this out a little bit so that
while you're doing that, Lisa, I did want to mention Nashville, at least downtown Nashville, looks like your threat has ended. Looking off to the west here, skies are actually starting to clear up just a little bit. So the heavy rain and the hail and the flooding that we just saw, it looks like that is now coming to an end, at least for downtown metropolitan Nashville.
You can see Murfreesboro about 5:52 for the arrival time for this storm that's coming through Franklin right now. Smyrna 5:57, but you already are on the cusp of some of the storms that are in southeastern Davidson County. Las Casas about 6 and Bradyville about 6:07.
Yeah, they are going to warn on that storm that's coming into Franklin right now. We just got word, so a new severe thunderstorm warning will be coming out on that. We figured that would happen.
Right. This is one of the first really intense spring storm systems that we've had. We may see some more storms next week, Jeff, so that is something we have to be really careful of. You know, you kind of get a little bit complacent after you haven't had them for a while, and then you find out people can get hurt in this kind of weather. You can see there, Jeff was talking about how downtown Nashville is no longer under the threat of severe weather, and we discussed this over the past couple of days that, you know, you want to kick off the weekend tonight. You give it an hour and everything's going to have cleared out of Nashville and you're good to go. Eastern counties maybe not as quickly, so we'll continue to monitor it for them as well. This is the warning there for the far southeastern corner of Davidson County, Rutherford and Williamson County, basically back to just east of Fairview. It's pretty much over there, but Boston up into the Franklin area. That's going to go until 6:15. That's going to clip Brentwood, and you can see moving into the Antioch area. So you see this bright shading of the pink and all the lightning, that's going to make its way into Brentwood and Antioch here pretty shortly, and we're going to track this again for you. But that is that warning does stretch all the way over into Rutherford County now. So Murfreesboro, you're part of that warning until 6:15. And with it moving at about 50 to 55 miles per hour, it doesn't take a long time to get this through here, but it doesn't take, you know, a long time for gusty winds to cause some damage either.
Severe thunderstorm warning for DeKalb, Smith, and Wilson counties. That is with the storm that had the tornado warning. Looks like the tornado warning has been dropped.
Right. They let that expire. But they did issue this next severe thunderstorm warning for that same part of the storm activity. You can see it's the flashing orange there that leads all the way into the Smithville area. So that is part of that. Now, Lafayette, just east of you, this storm blew through with a lot of lightning down into Trousdale County and now coming into Carthage. That too is pretty intense, but they don't have a warning for it right at this moment. Wouldn't surprise me if you get one. We are under a tornado watch for all the northern 2/3 of Middle Tennessee. This area off to the east was till midnight. It's not going to last that long by any stretch.
Yeah, this is moving pretty quickly.
It's moving very quickly, so I think we'll be able to kick our weekend off here pretty shortly. And I know we've kind of haven't talked much about the forecast for the weekend, but behind this, temperatures are dropping very rapidly, so you're going to have a much cooler Easter weekend. Right now, you're looking at this storm coming into Carthage basically at this time, Gordonsville about a couple of minutes from now, Granville around 5:40, Buffalo Valley about 5:45, Burristown around 5:50, and Hillham around 5:55. So that gives those folks a heads up. I'm going to do a few storm tracks on this activity. You can see Lebanon, you are still under a severe thunderstorm warning, so I'm going to track this line of activity that is coming through eastern and southern Wilson County right now, stretching all the way back to Smyrna basically, and it's been moving at about 50 to 55 miles per hour. We'll track it on the fast side so that you are warned a little ahead of time. The Watertown area around 5:40, Gordonsville around 5:43, Chestnut Mound at about 5:47, Buffalo Valley at 5:52, and the Baxter area there in western Putnam County around 6 o'clock. So.
Lisa, the Weather Service is now canceling some of our western counties from the tornado watch. That's to be expected as the front has come through. So Dixon, Houston, Humphreys, Montgomery, Stewart counties, you're all out of the tornado watch, so your threat is long gone. By the way, dime-sized hail being reported right now in Franklin at Columbia and Downs Boulevard, so we are getting some hail reports out of that cell.
Yeah, it's not surprising. We could see that it was pulsing up, and we just looked at that hail zone just a moment ago. It moving to the east at about 54 miles per hour. So there's the track on it again. Clovercroft around 5:32, which is now, of course. Nolensville 5:39, Almaville at 5:43, Smyrna around 5:50, Murfreesboro about 5:54, and Walter Hill around 5:57. So we are looking at that. Really, you know, kind of trying to cover up most of Williamson County right now with a lot of lightning and a lot of heavy rain, and that hail, you said what, dime size being reported in Franklin.
Also some reports of some power lines completely across the road at 108 Belmead Boulevard. So if we got power lines down, folks, you got to stay away from those. You don't know whether they're live or not. That's extremely dangerous, and don't try to drive across it either.
No, I would assume they're live.
Yeah, just stay away from any down power lines in that kind of a situation. But we have had some wind gusts reported upwards of 65, 68 miles an hour from our own Davis Nolan. So these storms are packing not only a hail punch and lots of lightning, but some gusty winds as well.
Yeah, we've got a couple of different cells that we're keeping a close eye on here for you. Some of it is now in our northeastern counties, eastern Macon County, down through Smith County, and just from Lebanon eastward now, you've got some very heavy weather. And then just southwest of Lebanon, south from I-40, basically south in Wilson County, down to Smyrna, and just around the northern county line with Rutherford County. And then you've got the complex there in Franklin down to Spring Hill moving eastward. That's going to impact Rutherford County. And then we've had this cluster of cells back in the southwestern corner with a severe thunderstorm warning from Centerville down to Hohenwald. It's not quite as organized or intense according to the radar, but I'm sure folks down there are saying, what? It sounds like the sky is falling on us. So we understand that you're under a warning as well, and that one is in effect until 5:45, but it does look like it's sort of broken up just a little bit.
Yeah, it does look like it's broken up, that southernmost cell. The strongest one, if I could say that, appears to be the one that's moving through Williamson County right now. Also up toward Gladeville. I don't want to discount any of that. They got a lot of lightning with that cell as well. Any of these cells are capable of some up to what we've had, up to 1-inch diameter hail being reported. Most of it's been dime size. Winds gusting anywhere between 55 and 65, even 68 miles an hour, and even some flooding issues. So these storms are definitely packing quite a punch as they have now cleared the Nashville immediate area, but are headed east.
Yeah, you can still see far southeastern Davidson County right there over Priest Lake getting some very heavy rain and still a lot of lightning there from Hickory Hollow up across the lake into the Gladeville community. But Jeff's talking about this one probably being the most intense, and it's coming through Franklin just on the north side of Spring Hill, crossing 840 or coming along 840 and crossing I-65 with at least some dime-sized hail in pockets. It may not be widespread, but very heavy rain making it difficult for drivers. Now, if you go go down I-24, you're kind of tucked in between those two. I believe we have a live picture of the interstate down that way, and you know, that's going to be wet for the moment, but it's not the heavy rain that you're going to have pick up here in just a little bit as this complex starts moving from the west. So we are continuing to see, you know, even more rain across 24 off to the southeast of Nashville. Actually, you know, it's coming down still. It's a steady rain. It's going to get a lot worse than that as this next complex begins to move in from the west.
And Lisa, here's some good news for you. Wilson County now out from under the severe thunderstorm warning, and also Davidson and Sumner County, they've canceled the severe thunderstorm warning for those counties as well.
So again, as we were talking about earlier, Nashville pretty much off the hook except that far southeastern corner around Priest Lake and Brentwood on the south side, on the Williamson County side. I think you still have some very heavy weather. You need to stay indoors and away from windows. You have severe thunderstorm warnings in these locations. I want to point out, Jeff was talking about how some of the counties have been clipped off the tornado watch that was in effect until 9 o'clock. Notice you can see Nashville's still in it, but that's because the storms are still very nearby in the southern and southeastern corner. But we'll see a lot of this clipped off. It's not going to last till 9 o'clock. You're going to be able to get out to dinner, go to the movies, do your thing here pretty shortly, probably within a half hour to an hour's time.
And by the same token, the watch that's farther east, that's out until midnight. Right now, Lisa and I are thinking that most of these storms are going to be crossing the plateau probably well before that.
Yeah, and there you can see the rain on Broadway, and you can see how we're no longer in the upper 70s, Jeff. We've dropped now to 64 with those winds out of the west, and so we will continue to see that temperature drop, and that's what we're going to be feeling for this Easter weekend, is the much cooler weather coming in from the west. So I want to go back.
Temperatures will continue to drop. They'll be all the way down into the 40s later on tonight, but it's in this very warm and unstable air that we've had here over Middle Tennessee today and is now out of the Nashville area, but still holding on to our eastern counties. That's what these storms are feeding on as this cold front plows into it from the west.
Yeah, you can see still quite a bit of activity there coming through Williamson County, getting on over into the Nolensville area and eastern Wilson County, southern Wilson County, from Gladeville just over to the county line there, moving into Smith County and Carthage. A lot of activity there as well. We've got a live picture down in Franklin and a lot of action on the radar, trying to see if you can see any hail in that. Certainly you can see the heavy rain. And, you know, when you get the hail with these storms, it's going to be in pockets. It's not like usually. In some instances, you'll have widespread activity.
Oh, they rolled the window down for us.
They did roll the window. I don't know who it is down there, but yeah, they probably just got really wet.
Yeah, they put it right back up.
Yeah, the winds are gusting too, so I guess they're thinking we can get a better view. I'm not sure exactly which news crew that is down there, but the very heavy rain. Stephanie's down in Franklin, so yeah, she's getting a little wet to be able to show us exactly what's going on. And the weather is very heavy in Franklin. If you look at Storm Tracker on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll notice all the way over to Old Hillsboro Road, the rain is still pretty heavy there in Leapers Fork, but it's not as intense as it is in downtown Franklin, and certainly down just south and east of downtown Franklin, crossing 24 into Epworth area and Clovercroft. That's where it looks to be most intense right now. So it is moving quickly. It
is moving pretty quickly. So Epworth, Clovercroft, you're in line right now. But then farther east from there, Nolensville, you're going to get hit here, also down to Almsville. Murfreesboro, this is the storm that is headed in your direction, probably within the next, I would say 45 minutes to an hour. Lisa's going to put this, it might be even less than that. It looks like Murfreesboro at 5:54, so yeah, 15, 20 minutes from now.
And you know, you've got the gusty winds and the really dark skies right now. Anyway, there is a severe thunderstorm warning with this cell, so it looks like Almaville basically moving into your neck of the woods right now. Concord about 5:46, Smyrna around 5:48, Murfreesboro 5:54, Las Casas around 6 o'clock, and Kittrell around 6:03. So it's going to take a little while for it to get through the easternmost parts of Rutherford County. It's still in Franklin and crossing I-65 now and approaching 31A with some of that heavier rain just beginning to move across 31A. You can see the Nolensville area, Almaville, all those areas really starting to pick up, and across 24 the rain is going to get heavier once again. And you notice how Brentwood, you're getting a good heavy rain out of this. You don't have as much lightning up that way, but the heavy rain extends all the way up to the Oak Hill area, and it looks like the rain is just beginning to taper off completely here in the Nashville downtown area.
Yeah, it looks like it's pretty much over. So as Lisa said earlier, if you have plans to go out this evening, yeah, no problems there. This should be moving out very, very quickly. These storms are really moving east. Right now we're getting word, you can see at the bottom of your screen there, Davidson County, 4,500 people without power right now. Not surprising. We've had some reports of some power, trees down and power lines down. So I'm sure that'll be restored fairly quickly, but best not to go out and go anywhere near any of these down power lines if they are in your area. So we'll watch these individual cells. Carthage now getting some of these storms. Looks like Lebanon, it's just about done for you, although on the south side,
south side is still pretty active.
Still pretty active. Mount Juliet looks like it's ending for you, definitely over in Hendersonville and Gallatin. So it's right just south of Lebanon, some of the worst of the weather there in Wilson County, I believe.
Yeah, and you're looking just, you know, they're coming into the Watertown area and Alexandria and Carthage, like you just mentioned, Jeff. These folks, there's a lot of that bright pink shading, which means torrential rain and or at least some small hail, and it could even be a little bit larger. I see a little spike in that pink shading there around the area just east of Baird's Mill, coming between Noreen and Doak's Crossroads, where you get a little splash of purple in that pink shading, and that could be that high reflective nature of the ice, the hailstone itself. So we're looking at those folks possibly getting a stretch of some hail there in the southern areas of Wilson County. They're just south of Lebanon, closer to Noreen, actually, as this storm line moves through. And it is moving quickly. It's just that this one is sort of elongated all the way back into the Gladeville area and really just beginning to let up here in the Priest Lake. It's still raining, and there's still a little bit of lightning in around the Priest Lake area from Smith Springs down to Sand Hill and the Smyrna community. While your rain has let up a little bit, here comes another batch that's going to be pretty heavy. It's moving into Antioch and going to cross I-24 in just the next couple of minutes. But like you said, Franklin, Highway 96, 65, this is where we have some of our most intense activity moving over into the Arrington area. You've seen the heavy rain already pick up, and there's a lot of lightning there from 440 or 840, excuse me, 840 up to the Arrington area. So folks are, you know, getting their first taste of spring storms this afternoon.
I know there's a lot of construction down there on 65 just south of the Franklin area, and I'm sure with all this rain and wind, it's probably very, very backed up traffic-wise down there. So take your time. Everybody will get home. This is going to clear through pretty quickly. These storms are all out ahead of a very, very strong cold front. As Lisa pulls out, it's easy to see where that front lies. It lies from northeast to southwest. Behind it, things have pretty much dried out, but it's right along and ahead of this very sharp cold front. The leading edge is some much cooler air, which is plowing into this warmer, unstable air over Middle Tennessee, and that's what's helping to erupt these thunderstorms. And they really got going just over the last 2 to maybe 2.5 hours, right around the Nashville area, south side of Nashville, and on off to the northeast. And it looks like we're going to continue to monitor these storms. Now, farther south, as you head down toward the Alabama border, there really hasn't been that much action yet. Most of it has been concentrated right here over Middle Tennessee.
And yeah, the tornado watches today really didn't include the southern counties. That doesn't mean you won't have some gusty winds or you're not under a threat, but it was just a bit more volatile environment up near the Tennessee-Kentucky state line, and basically from about I-40 or maybe even Franklin to Murfreesboro northward. And those tornado watches do continue, but they're going to be canceled before 9 o'clock tonight. So as we talked about earlier, once these storms blow through, that's it. That's it. You may have a little more rain, but we're not looking at anything severe. But right now, along Highway 96, coming across the areas here in eastern Williamson County, getting into western Rutherford County, coming across 31A right now, you can still see some very heavy weather, and we're looking at a live picture from Franklin on the left side of your screen. And because we have active warnings, that's one reason we are covering World News tonight. Hate to interrupt your programming, but want folks who are just getting home, you know, they want to know, oh goodness, what is, you know, what's going on here and how long is this going to last? And so we're trying to answer those questions for them and keep them safe.
All right, Murfreesboro, you're the next big town that's really in line for this storm coming out of Williamson County. As Lisa mentioned, moving into the Almaville area right now, but Murfreesboro, within the next 15 minutes, this storm is headed right into Murfreesboro. Looks like you got passed by the storm to your north, moving through Wilson County, but this one off to your west is probably the strongest right now. That has a history of some hail with it. Very, very vivid lightning. There's a lot of lightning still being reported, gusty winds. And here's the timeline, basically. Headed to Murfreesboro at 5:56. That stayed pretty constant, Lisa. So it looks like actually maybe in the next 10 minutes, the leading edge of that will be getting into Murfreesboro itself.
And probably some gusty winds already. Yeah. Of course, it's been gusty everywhere all day, but they'll pick up a bit in intensity. It does look like you've still got some heavy rain back in the Franklin area, but obviously you can see the cluster of lightning now is on the east side there around 65. But again, all the way back to the Bingham community around Old Hillsborough Road, West Main, you're still very steady, heavy rain there, so it's still going to be a very slow go. But when you get to the east side of 65, down around the Arrington community, over to Almaville and Nolansville, that's where we're seeing some of the heaviest weather with this particular complex. And it is one of the stronger storms that we have out there right now, basically from 840 up across Highway 96 and on up 31A into the Nolansville area is where that heavy rain and the thunderstorm that could be producing some damage exists. So I want to just quickly kind of give you an overview of what's going on down to the south of Nashville too. They dropped that warning down in southern Hickman and the Lewis County area, but some of that action coming through Columbia right now. We have a couple of warnings out there, and they did issue a new one that is for eastern Rutherford and over into northern Can County. I saw that one come out. You can see that outlined there, and that's going to go until 6:15. We've got a couple of warnings that are going to go for another 15 minutes or half hour or so. We are going to be joining World News now in progress here in just a couple of seconds. If we get any more warnings or any more reports of damage that warrant coming back on and covering that up, we will certainly get back to you. It does look like Nashville is no longer under a threat, except that far southeastern corner of the county still under a warning. Most of the heavy storms now moving from Franklin into Murfreesboro. We will be back on the air to let you know of any more storm warnings.